Raise your hand if seasonal depression has you in an absolute chokehold. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. If you watched my December TBR or any of my other vlogs, you will know that I am attempting to get through a bunch of series that I started that I wanted to finish before the end of 2022, and it's not going particularly well. I was playing DBD with Erica. I will leave her channel down below if you don't already watch her. I recommend that you do. But I was playing DBD with her the other night, and I, for some reason, was like hit with this epiphany that like YA fantasy just isn't really doing it for me anymore. I think that it has to be like something exceptional for it to like make me blink an eye. And I said that because I was like in the middle of a book that I ended up DNFing that I just wasn't liking. And so I went through my series spreadsheet and I got rid of all of the YA series that I didn't think that I would absolutely love, or that I didn't absolutely love the first book. So now what's left is like romance series. I do have a couple series left, one of which being the main focus of my reading this week, and that is going to be The Diviners. So I have the second book here, and I guess, is this technically YA? Yes. I have tried to read this previously. I got a little over halfway in and I didn't, but we'll see where this goes. I think the issue that I have is like, I loved the first one, but the beginning was slow, and I think that's going to be the case here, but they're just so fucking long, like for seemingly no reason. So I'm gonna try this, and then I would manage to get the third book as an ebook. So we'll see how that one goes as well. And then I'm also currently reading Twisted Games, and I saw a meme that like perfectly explains how I feel about this book right now. I don't love it. I didn't love the first one. I didn't really understand the hype of the first one. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this one as well. I don't really get it. So it's a bodyguard romance between a princess and her bodyguard. And she's like the princess of this country called Andorra. And over the course of the book, we find out that she's not the crown princess, but her brother is going to abdicate the throne to her. And she hasn't really been training to take over the throne. And I'm like 48% of the way through this book, and the issue that I'm having is like there's so fucking much going on, and it's so long. It's over 430 pages that it feels like what else could really happen. It's like 3 books in one at this point, and I'm not even halfway through, and it just feels so long. It makes it feel like I've been reading it for 10 years, and that's not really what you want. I do want to finish it because I am liking their relationship, but that's like the only part of this that I'm liking is their relationship. I like Reese, he's the bodyguard. I like Reese. I think that their relationship dynamic and their relationship is sexy. I like the heroine. Reese is very much like this cold hero, and the heroine is I'm a princess, but I'm not like other princesses. I'm feisty and I protect myself kind of deal. So I do want to see where their relationship goes, but it just, the plot is too much, and that's the issue that I had in the first one. I really liked the first one, and then once it went on in all of these different crazy directions that had nothing to do with the relationship, I just didn't like it anymore. And it's right off the bat basically like that. As soon as like the 15% mark hit, the plot just started going all over the place, and it's like slowly gotten worse. Those are the 2 things that I'm going to focus on. I also am buddy reading the Brutal Birthright series with Letitia from Books and Bees. So I will be reading 4th, 5th, this book this week as well. I just need to double check with her to make sure that she's ready to read it. Those are the plans. We'll talk later. So I managed to finish Twisted Games today, and why are my cheeks so hot? I just have to say or admit to myself that Anna Huang just might not be for me, because like after the 50% mark, the book was going great, and I just didn't care. Like, because the first 50% had ruined it so much for me, I just didn't want to continue their story. The ending wasn't, like, I liked the ending enough, but it wasn't worth what I had to do to get there. So I don't know if I'm gonna pick up anything from her again. I just don't think that her style of writing is for me. Like, I was hoping that this one would not have the same issues that I had with the first one, but I think that that just might be something that she enjoys putting in her stories. And so I just am going to move past it and just chalk her up as someone that's just not for me. She's well loved, and that's good. I also started Broderick, which is the second book in the Sabine Valley series. I liked the first one okay, and I'm kind of feeling the same way about this one. So I couldn't even begin to explain the world to you because there's really no explanation. In the first one, we know that there's like this fight. There's like, it seems to be like different factions, and there's the original, there's like a family that runs the faction. They have like heirs and stuff, and the father, the brothers of this raider faction, like the heir family, I don't know if I'm explaining this very well at all. Their family gets killed by their faction, and the family leaves. And so it's Abel, Broderick, Cohen, and like 4 other brothers. And they leave, they like plot their revenge, and they come back, and then there's like this night where they can fight, and if they win, they get brides for a year, and it's like supposed to unite the factions for a year, I guess, or like force pseudo peace amongst the factions. And so that's kind of what happens. And then so Abel is the one that fights, and he fights like all 7 rounds and wins his brother's brides, and the brides are like the heirs from the other factions, I think. And so Abel's book is the first one, and this one is Broderick. The world is very confusing. I would equate it to like a mafia-esque world, but I don't really know. I do know it connects to the Neon Gods world somehow, but I haven't seen that connection yet. I just heard Sabine Valley mentioned in Neon Gods. It's 9 hours, and I'm a couple hours in, and it's definitely slower paced relationship-wise than the first one. The first one's 3, this one's 3 as well. I don't know if like she just didn't really put enough effort into the world building to like make it make sense, but it's okay. So that's the audiobook I'm listening to. I don't really have that many series left that I need to get through for the month. I went through and deleted some series, like I told you. I went through and deleted some like contemporary romance series that I just don't think I'm going to enjoy. And I also went through and unmarked a bunch of series that don't think I'm going to be able to finish this year, like the Souls series. I'm buddy reading that with Letitia, so that like that's gonna come later on next year. And so like just some series that I realistically won't be able to get through in the month, like it's the 13th. So a lot of the heavy fantasies that I have on my list are going to be priorities, and I know that I'm not gonna be able to get through some of the other ones. I'm going to start Layer of Dreams, and I think that if I don't like this, I'm just gonna scratch the whole series off of my list and just chalk it up to like me liking the first one and not really the second one, because this one is 500 and over, it's like 600, over 600 pages, and I think the other ones get progressively bigger. And so I would rather be using my time to read other fantasies, possibly Brandon Sanderson's, because my goal this year with fantasy was to tackle the Cosmere, and I only got 2 books deep in it. So I haven't really done all that well. So I think if I'm gonna give this one more shot, this series one more shot, and if I don't like it, then I'm not gonna push myself. I'm going to wipe the series off of my list, and and we're gonna move on. Good morning, friends. So today we have sort of a busy day. Not really busy in that, like, I don't have to really get anything done. Like, I don't have to get anything done, but I'm doing this thing that I do every year where at the end of the year I start watching planner videos and then I decide that I want to make one. So I think what I'm gonna do is we're gonna stop by the library because I need to drop off some books. And then we're gonna go to Barnes & Noble and Target, and I'm gonna look at their journal selections. I don't necessarily love bullet journaling just because I need some sort of direction, but I also don't love regular journals because I need to have what spreads that I want to have. So I'm going to look at what journals they have and also like what sticker kits they have, because if I can get a bullet journal and then just put sticker kits in there to kind of guide my way, I'm gonna do that because it works out for me a little bit better than a regular already planned out journal does. And I don't necessarily want to use it for reading. Like, I do want to use it for reading, but also I want to use it for life, specifically YouTube, because I just have notes everywhere. Like, I have notes on my phone, I have notes on my iPad, I have notes on my computer of videos I want to do, books I need to read for those videos, and I want to have it, you're about to see the most unflattering angle. I want to have it like all in one place. And I have considered digitally journaling, but I'm not savvy enough for that. And I always feel very weird about spending money on digital things, like digital copies of things. So I don't want to spend money to buy like a pre-done journal digitally, which is so dumb because I'm willing to buy one physically. I am going to eat, drink my coffee, wait for Barnes & Noble and Target to open. It's 8:30 now. I don't know. I know Target opens at 8. I don't know what time Barnes & Noble opens. And then we're going to see what they have.
Cup runs dry, I will never thirst, for I know where to find water. So I come to you with my empty cup. I draw near again. So I come Draw me closer. I wanna hear your heartbeat.
So my attempts at finding a journal at Barnes & Noble and Target were unsuccessful. I didn't get any books, obviously, or I would have a haul for you. I did end up just ordering one with some stickers and stuff, and I'll show it once it comes in. But I did end up finishing Broderick, and I gave it 3 stars. This is probably the lowest, or one of the lowest books that I have ever rated at Katie Robert. I didn't really find this as sexy as the first one. The first one was like back-to-back sexual tension, and this one didn't really have that, to be honest. I didn't hate it, but because it was slow, the lack of world building was very obvious. So that's kind of that one, unfortunately. So looking at my spreadsheet, the only books that I have left to finish is the Diviners. We have the last book in the Serpent and Dove, The Last Magician, the Davabad trilogy. We have the Bloodline Vampires by Katie Robert, and then we have the Brayshaw High series and Promised in Blood. And none of those I can listen to at the moment. So I think I'm going to take a break from reading. I'm going to listen to the Diviners later. I just can't listen to it on my laptop. So that's that. Bye. Okay, so I have decided to DNF Layer of Dreams. I forced myself to pick up the audiobook for this, and I even was going back through to get to the point that I had stopped at last time. And I think that's just an indication that, like, I'm not interested in the story. And I'm gonna move on. I think that just is going to scratch off this series, and we're gonna move on to something else. I think that this is just too long for not enough payoff. So looking back, I gave the first one 4 stars, but I think I was being a little generous because it's a very popular book. So we're going to move on to the second book in the Broken Earth trilogy, which I'm very excited for. I need to read a recap of the first one, even though I only read it like 6 months ago. But I'm very excited for that one. I loved the first one. It was so good. We're gonna start that one. So I just finished Air, which is the second book in the Bloodline Vampires series by Katie Robert, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. I liked it a lot more than I liked the first one. So this is basically about a woman who, in the beginning of the series, gets taken in as like a feeder and breeder by a Bloodline vampire, which is like an original vampire, and he buys her from her dad, and then she ends up, it's a reverse harem with 2 other guys. They're all vampires, but one guy can control fire, one can control blood, and one can shapeshift, and she's like seemingly just a half vampire, half human. And then in this second one, they are trying to take down her father, who is bad. This one focused a lot more on the relationships than the first one did, and it was way better. That is a very unpopular opinion. Most people, from what I've read of Goodreads, their Goodreads reviews, did not like that. A lot of people felt like the plot was non-existent, which, I mean, it was, but that wasn't the point of like this book. Other than that, like, I think I need to take a break from reading, maybe for the week, possibly. I'm gonna try to start the next book in the Boys of Brayshaw High. I think it's called Trouble at Brayshaw. See how I do it with it. It might just be time for me to pick up some rereads or take a break from reading for a couple days, because I'm just finding myself like not liking or caring about anything that I'm reading. And so I'm gonna start Trouble at Brayshaw, and then I guess when I make a decision about my reading, we'll talk. I am halfway through Gods and Monsters. This is the 3rd book in the Blood and Honey series. No, Serpent and Dove series. And I am liking this. I'm obviously not going to go into too much because it's the 3rd book in the series, but I am liking this. I don't know if I'm liking it as much as I liked the second one. I think that a lot of the plot is sort of like repeating itself, but I will say that it is like action-packed, which is really all I would want from the last book in a trilogy, and like I'm interested in the development. Something that I have noticed just through reading this book, because I gave the first one 3 or 4 stars, I gave the second one 4 stars. Really liked the second one. And something that I'm noticing is that I don't particularly care about the side characters. No spoilers, deals a lot with grief. That's kind of the central conflict with Lou, who is the female main character, throughout the second and, well, throughout the end of the second one into this one. And like, I just didn't really care about the person that she lost. And I also like don't care about her getting beyond her grief. And that might sound bad, but because I don't really care about the side characters, the death of this person like doesn't really impact me in any way. And I'm just kind of at the point where I don't even really care about their romantic relationship. If you don't know, this series is about a witch and a witch hunter. They have to get married, decreed by essentially the Catholic Church. Obviously, it like becomes way more than that. Because the second one doesn't really deal a lot with their relationship, and so far this one doesn't either. Just like the circumstances of each book have separated them a lot, I'm finding that I'm not really caring about their relationship and their love. We don't really get that many scenes where like they're themselves and they're just like together and you can feel the love and the trust that they have for each other. That's just not something that I'm feeling right now. And I think if you're going into this as a fantasy romance and you care about the fantasy aspect, but you care more about their relationship, you're gonna be a little disappointed. I'm not disliking it because I didn't really feel a huge compulsion to like fall head over heels of their relationship in the second one anyways. So like, I'm not too disappointed, but I am a little disappointed that the theme of them not being together is carrying on in this one. Like, I was kind of hoping that we had gotten past that and like they would get to a point where they actually start tackling these things together, and that just doesn't seem like that's what's gonna happen. I'm already 50% of the way in and that's still like hasn't resolved itself. They're not working together, which I think speaks to a larger issue with the relationship of that they're married and they don't work through anything together. So yeah, I'm enjoying it for the fantasy, but I think for the relationship, I'm not really that interested. I'm not interested in the side characters. So like at this point, what am I interested in? I don't really know, but I'm gonna end the series. Like, I only have this much left. I only have like 300 pages left, and then I'm done with the trilogy. And I'll probably pick up other stuff from this author because like this is her debut series and it's fucking fantastic. The first one was good. The middle book was really good, really solid, fantastic improvements. And then this one is pretty okay so far as well. So I'm definitely interested in picking up more from her, but that's kind of how I'm feeling with this. I've also decided that for the remainder of like however slumpy I'm feeling, I'm going to read historical romances, and I also have a middle grade that I have picked out that I would like to read. I did start Trouble at Brayshaw High, and I didn't get very far into it, so we'll see how I'm feeling when I go to pick it up. But at the moment, I kind of just feel like getting through this, and then I feel like some historical and middle grade will help me a little bit with like how I'm feeling towards life, but also towards reading. So I will update you guys when I am finished with Gods and Monsters.
I wanna hear your heartbeat. I wanna feel your breath on my cheek.
You're gonna be sideways for this clip, but I just finished Gods and Monsters and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I think that it was a great conclusion to the series. All of the complaints that I had in my initial clip are not a problem. I like where everything went. I think the conclusion was good. It was realistic as a fantasy could be. Still stand by the fact that I wasn't like super emotionally invested in the side characters, but I still enjoyed the series, and I think that it's a fantastic debut. I didn't really have an issue with any of the books in the series. I know a lot of people did not like the second one, and I disagree. I think the second one was the best as far as like character growth and just all of that. But this was a very strong conclusion, and I am happy that I finally finished. So now we're going to move on to, I'm thinking either the Lisa Kleypas or the middle grade. Haven't decided. For now, I'm going to lay in bed and read The Boys of Barishaw High, or The Trouble at Barishaw High. I just want to know if, like, I'm gonna continue the series, because I know it's a lot of books and I don't know if it's following the same couple. But at this point I just want to know, like, if I'm even interested in continuing. So I'm going to get back into reading that. We're just getting another angle like this. I managed to finish Trouble at Barishaw, and like, I'm not going to continue the series. I gave this 2 stars. I didn't like it. I feel like the writing got way worse. I don't know if I just didn't notice, because that's the kind of mood that I was in, was like that kind of writing style, but it just, like, I feel like I can get the same story just written better, and I just have no interest in continuing. I can't really get into like why it was bad, because it's the second book in a series, but like the first one was very like campy and bad and just over dramatic. Bad in like a good way, if that makes sense. And this was just bad in a bad way. Now I'm gonna move on to some Lisa Kleypas. And I just finished Bloody Hearts. This is the 4th or 5th book in the Brutal Birthright series, and this is definitely the worst. I did give it 3 stars just because, like, it was okay. It wasn't awful, but to the credit of the book, like, this has almost every single trope that I hate. We'll put a spoiler card right here, because some people find one of these tropes a spoiler. So if you don't want to know anything going into this book, I'll put the timestamp right here, but this has surprise pregnancy, pseudo single parent, second chance, time skip, faking or covering up the surprise pregnancy. So this is about Dante and Simone, and we have kind of seen a little bit of Dante throughout the other books. He's the oldest brother in the Gallo family. That's Ada's family, I think. And Dante is kind of the quiet one in the group. He is very stoic and he kind of runs everything. He's the oldest brother, and we've seen him kind of be like the stern and silent one behind the scenes, kind of making all the decisions for the family with his dad. And so in the beginning of this, it's like the first 30% is the initial meeting of Dante and Simone. They met when she was 18, I think he was 21, and then something happens that breaks them up. It's a little bit like every Nicholas Sparks book, but better, where it's like the poor rough and tumble guy with the rich girl. Not exactly that dynamic, but it has that feeling of like the parents don't approve, you gotta you gotta choose kind of thing. And then something breaks them up, and then like 9 years later they meet again, and that sparks their second chance. They meet because Dante is running security for an event that her dad is at. Her dad is like a politician, and he's like running this coalition to stop bring awareness to human trafficking. He's running security, and someone tries to kill someone that's presenting like on the stage. And they end up getting roped back in together, and then it goes from there. I just really didn't like this. I think once the 50% mark hit, it was better. The plot took over, and it wasn't so much about them. And I think what I'm finding is that I just don't really like her attempts to mash, at least in this series, her attempts to mash plot and romance together. I don't think she does it very well. And something that I'm also thinking, and I did notice, is that like her writing across the last 3 books is very different. And like I was looking at the publishing date, I think it was in 2020. I could be incorrect, but this just feels like this series, she was trying to figure out how she wanted to write, and so she just changed everything. Like the writing from Miko's book to Nero's book to his book is very different. The way that everything is plotted, the way that the relationship works out. Obviously, they're different stories. The brothers are different, the characters are different, but I'm just mean like her actual writing style, how she's plotting things. It's all very different, and they read like different books from different authors. So this was definitely the worst in the series, but I am excited to continue. I'm now going to continue to read the Lisa Kleypas book. I haven't gotten very far in. I don't have the book, so I'll talk about it in the next clip, but yeah, not impressed. I am halfway through Devil in Spring, and honestly, I just love Lisa Kleypas. Like, anybody who has ever been concerned about getting into historical romance or reading Lisa Kleypas specifically because of how hype she is, like, don't be concerned. Like, she's so good. She's so worth it. And I'm loving this. I will be shocked if it's less than 5 stars. So this is about Pandora and Gabriel. And I do kind of wish that I had read the Wallflower series before I read this, just because there's some callbacks to Gabriel's parents and like people that he knows that I think were couples in the Wallflowers, or like were people in the Wallflowers. So I'm missing a little bit of like that happiness of like remembering them. Pandora is the twin of the Ravenel family, who is kind of the Wallflower, and she doesn't want to get married. She wants to make board games, and she like wants to get patents for board games, and she wants to make her own money and settle down, because she recognizes that the minute she gets married, all of her money is going to go to her husband. So she never has any plans to get married. She's very socially awkward. It's the most evident with Pandora that her family was raised very secluded from everybody else. The Ravenel parents never really tried to bring them out in society. They lived very far away from everybody. And so the kids were kind of left to their own devices, and they never really interacted with anybody besides each other. And that's the most evident with Pandora. She is simultaneously very anxious about being out in public and also has no filter. So she just says whatever comes to mind regardless of the outcome. And then it's kind of one of those like ashamed things later when she realizes that she shouldn't have said what she said. But she's very, very intelligent, and she's very quick-witted. Gabriel comes from the St. Vincent family, and he is a rake, and he has been raised around his father's gambling hell, and so he has kind of a different personality than maybe someone of the peerage you usually would, a future duke usually would be. He is very cold and calculating, but he's also kind of a fuckboy, I guess is the best way to describe his personality. Not in like a bad way, but they meet in the beginning when Pandora and him are at a ball, and she gets asked by one of her friends to go retrieve her earring, the friend's earring, from a carriage house where she was having a rendezvous with one of her ex-lovers. And so Pandora goes out there and she finds it behind the back of a settee, and she ends up getting caught. And so it starts ripping her dress, and then Gabriel comes and helps her, and they are discovered, and she's compromised by him. So of course they now have to get married. I love about this is that the Ravenel family is just like bar none. Like, Devin is fantastic. He knows that Pandora doesn't want to get married. He knows the very strong reasons why she doesn't get married. She doesn't want to get married, the very valid reasons. And he basically tells her, like, we will support you no matter what. Screw society or what will happen to the family. We don't put our reputation above our loved ones. And so he says, you don't want to get married, I'm not going to get married. I'm not going to make you get married. And then to contrast that, Gabriel's family says, if you don't want to marry her, we will just pay someone to marry her, but we want you to spend a week at our vacation home, get to know her, and then make your decision. So they invite the Ravenel family minus Helen and Winterbourne to vacation home, and I am just loving this. Gabriel is completely enchanted by Pandora. It's fantastic. Like, he is just, everything she says, everything she does, she in her head is very anxious about. She always feels like she's making the wrong moves, and he's completely enamored with her. Everything she says, he's like, I am just so I'm just so into her, and I don't know why. Like, she's everything that I shouldn't want, but she's just fascinating, and like I love her mind, and just like he's just gone for her completely, and it's fantastic. And I love their relationship. I love this book. I think Lisa Kleypas is just so good at writing these like very comfortable, these dreamy, these beautiful romances, and I'm very excited to finish. I'm halfway through, so I have about this much left. It shouldn't take me that long. I should be able to get through it by the end of the morning. And then I also started Lessons in Corruption. This is the first one in the Fallen Men series, and I'm maybe 8 to 10% of the way through. Now, this is a motorcycle series, and I tried reading the second one, Welcome to the Dark Side, maybe about a year ago, and I didn't really like it all that much. I think I gave it 2 stars. I felt like the writing was very immature, and I'm not finding that's an issue here, which is shocking because it was written before that second book, obviously. So this is about Cressida and King. And Cressida is recently divorced and is the teacher at like this private school that King goes to. But I think they have a hookup at a bar when she doesn't know that he is a student of hers. And then obviously you have that whole thing going on. I'm finding it's not written the same way. And I'm wondering if I go back and read the second one, if it's going to be a different experience for me. Because I read that in the beginning of like my indie romance journey, so maybe I was just a stuck-up bitch. I don't know. I'm gonna finish this one. If I like this one, then I'm gonna try to reread the second one. But so far, I'm not really having any of the issues that I felt with the second one. At this point, they haven't even had their hookup yet, so I am going to go back to Devil in Spring. I'm gonna try to finish this, and then we'll see if we can finish Lessons in Corruption, and then we'll come back and wrap the vlog up. I just finished, and I don't know what you want me to say. Like, does it get any more perfect than this? 5 stars. This might be my favorite in the series. I love Pandora. I love Gabriel. Like, it just, I think the thing that I love most about this is like the agency that Pandora has and the agency that everybody in her life gives her. She constantly feels trapped by society standards and expectations, but her family and the people that love her never do that, and neither does Gabriel. He's very open about how she makes her decisions for her own life, and he's never going to stand in the way, and that he loves her and she is his partner. And that's the main conflict of the book, is like the heroine's decision. It's not the heroine's agency. It's not the heroine being forced to marry someone or have kids or have her agency taken away. It's her decision what she wants to do with her life. And like, it's just beautiful. And she just yes, I'm so excited to continue on in this series. I'm excited to get to the Wallflowers. Like, I'm excited to read all of the historical romances she's ever written. Just perfection. Couldn't ask for anything better. So I think now I'm going to move on to Lessons in Corruption. I don't know if I'm gonna end up finishing it today. It's 3 o'clock now, and it's 367 pages, and I'm on page 25. So we're going to give it a shot. We'll certainly see. We're gonna give the old college try. But yeah, we'll come back and wrap up the vlog. Yeah, I'm quickly remembering why I didn't really like this series. The dialogue is just bad. I ended up DNFing Lessons in Corruption. It's just not for me, y'all. It's just, the writing just not for me. I don't like it. So I did start No Tomorrow. This will be my first, I think this is Carrie Ann Cole. And this is, for one, 600 pages, and it's also I think a rock star, and it starts off with the hero and the heroine meeting because the hero is homeless, and he's like been playing his guitar with his dog in this park that she visits for lunchtime every day, and I think they have a romance, and then something breaks them up, and then they get back together after he's like famous. I'm not entirely sure that's the plot. I'm not very far in. They have just had their first like lunch together, and other than that, that's kind of what's been happening. It's long. I don't know like what, I don't know what the reason for like a 600 page romance would be. I guess if I can't read this, then I can't read a Mariana Zapata, so that'll let me know. But those are all of the things that I am going to be reading for this reading vlog. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on anything that I read in this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in my next one. Thanks so much for watching.
Pull me in, draw me close. I wanna hear your heartbeat.